Juju is a bigger baller than Caitlin Clark.
I said it.
I said it.
Cam Newton just claimed that Gugu Watkins is a better athlete than Caitlin Clark, but Stephanie White wasn't having any of it. In a world where hot takes fly faster than jump shots, this one missed the mark. The moment the words left Cam's mouth, the internet lit up like a playoff scoreboard. Then came Stephanie White, head coach of the Indiana Fever, calm, focused, and locked in, determined to shut down the noise.
Has nothing to do with black and white, but the statistics say what everybody needs to know. Juju is a better athlete than Caitlin Clark.
But this isn't just about Cam Newton running his mouth or a former MVP fumbling a comparison. This is about truth versus agenda, leadership versus loudness, and facts versus flash. We're breaking down everything, from what Cam said to Stephanie, White's exact clapback to how Caitlin Clark and others are shutting down narratives and lighting up the WNBA. This story has receipts, rivalries, and a whole lot of reality check energy. Let's talk about how Stephanie White just owned the moment and reminded everyone exactly who runs the court. When Cam Newton talks, people listen. He's a former NFL MVP, a Heisman winner, and a quarterback who literally carried teams on his back. But sometimes, having a big platform means your words carry more weight than you calculated. And in this case, Cam fumbled badly.
Rivalry always equates to rating. There's more rivalry than sport. Rating. See, the thing about Juju, the thing about Paige is, it's not saying it's good. Caitlin Clark.
The comment that ignited the firestorm came during an episode of the Fourth and One Brain podcast. Newton, casually leaning into one of the most unnecessary comparisons in women's basketball, confidently claimed that Juju Watkins was a better athlete than Caitlin Clark. But he didn't stop there. He doubled down, brought up race, and layered in a narrative about bad girl energy versus good girl branding. Just like that, a simple sports take turned into a cultural firework display. Let's pause here, because praising Juju Watkins isn't the issue. She's an absolute force, a sophomore at USC putting up elite numbers and showing major leadership potential. Nobody is questioning her future. She's box office. But Cam didn't just hype up Juju, he did it at the expense of another generational talent, with no real justification. Beyond his personal perception, Newton argued that Juju isn't being pushed like Caitlin Clark because she lacks an arch nemesis. He framed Clark as the good girl, in contrast to players like Angel Reese, who embrace the bad girl persona. He even suggested that Clark's rise was media-engineered, while Juju's media attention was somehow being suppressed. Here's the problem. Everything about that take collapses under actual numbers.
We believe through Paige and Juju, we need somebody that will rival them to build up the anticipation. Because last year,
That was it. It was like, bro, head to head.
Iowa and South Carolina, LSU and Iowa, LSU and South Carolina, like those were like moments in times. Like,
Especially at LSU and Iowa.
Like that. But thanks to the Caitlin Clark of this, has the skill set to match the expectations. Like, yo,
Injuries.
she can drop third. Juju is also in that wave and that call for I can drop third.
Caitlin Clark's sophomore year at Iowa was record-setting. She led the NCAA in both points and assists per game, averaging 27.0 points, 8.0 assists, and 7.1 rebounds. You want volume? She had it. You want efficiency? She shot 45.2% from the EO field, 33.2% from beyond the arc, and 85% from the free throw line. No fluff, no PR tricks. Just pure domination. And let's be clear, the media coverage didn't truly explode until late in her junior year, when her deep tournament run, flashy passing, logo threes, and yes, the you can't see me moment, all took center stage. She didn't walk into college basketball with cameras in her face. She earned it by putting up video game numbers in real games. Now, contrast that with Juju Watkins. Again, this isn't a knock on Juju. She's a phenomenal player, averaging 27.1 points and 7.2 rebounds as a sophomore. She's also doing it at USC, a massive market with Hollywood press just down the street, and she's getting coverage, tons of it. ESPN highlights, social media buzz, endorsement interest. There's no media blackout here. In fact, many sports analysts have openly stated that Juju has received more media attention as a sophomore than Caitlin did at the same point in her career. That's not speculation. That's fact. Yet Cam went with the narrative that sells conflict rather than the one grounded in basketball performance. Now let's address the racial undertone he hinted at. Newton claimed his comment had nothing to do with race, right after bringing up race multiple times. That's a rhetorical trap. You don't get to frame the conversation around cultural stereotypes, acknowledge racial tension, and then backpedal with, but it's not about race. By that point, you've already made it about race. You're using it to frame an argument that can't stand on its own merit. And fans noticed. Social media blew up. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube comment sections, everywhere. People were calling out the contradiction. Not because they hate Cam Newton, but because the argument simply didn't hold up.
You know, I think that the greatest thing is just, for me, having been a part of the WNBA for 25 years, having worked on both sides of it in the media and in the coaching realm, and being a player in this league as well. I mean, this is the moment that we've been waiting for. So I don't know if you prepare for it as much as you just embrace it, embrace where we are. Think about the momentum moving forward, where we wanted this league to be and where we still aspire for it to go. And just embrace this moment, embrace this opportunity, continue to help this team, this franchise be better, position ourselves for.
Stephanie White stepped in at just the right moment. Cam Newton may have thrown the first punch, but she responded without raising her voice. No aggression, no insults, just clarity. And in a world full of hot takes, sometimes that's what lands the hardest. When White addressed the situation, she didn't throw shade, call Newton out by name, or get dramatic. She did what real leaders do. Defended her players with authority, confidence, and facts. That's what made her words resonate more than any viral soundbite. Let's start with how she spoke about Caitlin Clark. White called her a great player, with an unbelievable IQ, someone who has adjusted quickly to the league. That might sound like a coach hyping up her player, but White isn't the type to hand out empty compliments. She's coached at both the college and pro levels, working with legends. If she says someone is built differently, they are. But what truly stood out wasn't the praise. It was her focus on growth. White didn't just highlight Clark's talent. She emphasized her potential as a future leader. That means more than dropping 20 points a night. It means guiding teammates, taking over in crunch time, and setting the tone in the locker room. Leadership isn't about being loud. It's about being steady. And White sees that in Clark already. Now contrast that with Cam Newton's take, which framed Clark's rise as something handed to her because of marketing or rivalry drama. White shut that down immediately, not by attacking, but by elevating the truth. Clark's success wasn't manufactured. It came from preparation, adaptability, and pure skill. And speaking of the locker room, that's where White really brought the receipts. When she speaks about the team's culture, believe her. Unlike Cheryl Swoops, who's throwing out opinions from the outside, White is in the trenches every single day. Her message wasn't just about correcting Cam or defending Clark. It was about protecting her team from outside noise and keeping her players focused on the bigger picture, building something that lasts. When you see a leader like Stephanie White speak, you understand why her players rally around her. She doesn't just coach basketball. She protects her team's identity. She counters false narratives with facts and builds something bigger than a highlight reel or a headline in a media cycle addicted to drama. White chose discipline, and that's what made her the loudest voice in the room, without ever raising it. If you only listened to headlines and podcast rants, you'd think the Indiana Fever locker room was a mess. but listen to the people who are actually in it every day, and you'll hear a completely different story. Let's start with Lexi Hull, Clark's teammate and a key piece of the Fever roster. She didn't just shut down the drama narrative, she torched it. Hull described Clark as someone who constantly lifts her teammates up. If a teammate misses a shot, Clark is the first to encourage them. If things get tense in a game, Clark cracks, jokes. If someone needs confidence, she's there every time. Hull called Clark a leader, not just because of her stats, but because of her energy. The kind of leader who sees the game on a bigger scale, keeps teammates grounded, and never makes it about herself. Erica Wheeler backed that up, saying Clark never takes things too seriously and describing practices filled with laughter, jokes, and good vibes. In her words, "All we do is have fun with Caitlin Clark." These aren't paid PR quotes. They're real-time reports from teammates who live the season with Clark day after day. And what they describe isn't tension, it's chemistry. The kind of culture teams dream of building but rarely achieve. Meanwhile, outside the locker room, people like Cheryl Swoops are pushing narratives about friction, suggesting players want out, and spinning stories about drama that doesn't exist. The gap between perception and reality couldn't be wider. So why did these stories keep popping up? Simple. Drama sells. Conflict drives clicks. Comparing Clark to other players, suggesting locker room divides, and hinting at racial undertones all fuel engagement, but they don't tell the truth. Stephanie White and the Fever players are telling the truth. Their success this season wasn't random or lucky. It was built on chemistry, and you can see it in every interview, every huddle, and every fourth-quarter comeback. Even the organization itself isn't feeding into the noise. Fever president Kelly Koff publicly praised Kelsey Mitchell, calling her a cornerstone. That kind of support doesn't happen in a fractured team. It happens in a team that knows exactly who they are, and the fans see it. Ratings are up, ticket sales are up. WNBA jerseys are flying off shelves. The Fever have become one of the most talked about teams in the league, not just because of Clark, but because they're genuinely fun to watch. They move the ball, trust each other, and look like a team, not a brand. That's not media strategy. That's team identity. Let's not pretend Clark hasn't made mistakes. She's had off nights, missed shots, and faced more pressure than any rookie in years. But through it all, her team hasn't turned on her. They've supported her, grown with her, and trusted her. That's culture. That's chemistry. And no hot take can fake that. So the next time someone tries to spark drama, just look at how the actual players respond. Because while the media is trying to create friction, the Fever are out here, building wins, together. Here's the bottom line. Cam Newton fired off a take that didn't age well. Stephanie White responded with facts, clarity, and leadership to set the record straight. This wasn't about tearing anyone down. It was about elevating the truth. So what's your take? Drop it in the comments. Was Stephanie White right? Was Cam Newton way off base? And if you want more no-fluff basketball breakdowns, coach-level insight, and player-first storytelling, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on the notifications. The WNBA is heating up, and we're just getting started. Let's run it.